Election integrity in jeopardy. Uncounted ballots found in Nunavut and Quebec. Recent developments in Canada's political landscape have raised significant concerns regarding election integrity, particularly following the discovery of uncounted ballots in Nunavut and Quebec. This situation has highlighted potential flaws in the electoral process and has sparked debates about the reliability of governance in Canada. As the nation gears up for upcoming elections, these issues underscore the importance of transparency and accountability in maintaining public trust. David's discussion begins by emphasizing the government's failure to present a federal budget, a lapse seen as a serious abdication of leadership. He questions why the government can produce a costed platform during an election but struggles to deliver a budget that outlines fiscal responsibility. This lack of a budget is particularly troubling given Canada's uncertain economic climate, which has been exacerbated by rising inflation and job losses in key sectors. Prime Minister Mark Carney has faced mounting criticism for not providing a clear financial plan, which many view as an attempt to avoid accountability regarding the country's economic spending. In a recent poll, it was revealed that 40% of Canadians believe that Carney effectively represented Canadian interests during a recent international meeting. However, there's a notable 20% of respondents who were unaware that the meeting even took place. This indicates a disconnect between the government's actions and the public's awareness, which could further erode trust in leadership. Opinions on the impact of the meeting vary widely. While some Canadians feel it improved bilateral relations, others argue it had little to no effect on the issues that matter most to them. Carney's approval rating for handling the meeting stands at 48%, suggesting that a significant portion of the populace remains unconvinced by his approach. Many citizens express a desire for him to adopt a stronger stance on international matters that affect Canadian interests. The discussion also touches on trade tariffs, revealing that 67% of Canadians support implementing retaliatory tariffs against the U.S. in response to unfair practices. However, Carney has been criticized for quietly removing these tariffs, which some believe undermines his leadership and commitment to protecting Canadian industries. Delving deeper into Alberta's political landscape, David highlights that 51% of Albertans support a plan for separation from Canada. This sentiment reflects growing frustration with federal policies and perceived neglect of provincial interests. Business leaders in Alberta warned that discussions surrounding separation could deter investment, complicating efforts to revitalize the province's economy. Carney's failure to present a federal budget is seen as particularly troubling, especially after the Liberals have been in power for over a decade. Critics argue that without a clear budget, Carney's leadership is increasingly called into question. The conversation also addresses environmental policies, particularly the role of the Secretary of State on Nature, who has drawn comparisons to Stephen Guilbeault for her eco-friendly stance. Critics claim her appointment is largely symbolic, pointing out that she has avoided addressing tough questions about pipelines and their environmental impacts. This raises concerns about the government's commitment to balancing economic development with environmental stewardship, a critical issue for many Canadians. In the electoral arena, the situation in Terrebonne riding is in flux after 5 late ballots were discovered, potentially triggering a by-election. This incident has brought attention to the logistical challenges of conducting elections, particularly in remote areas like Nunavut, where results have been delayed due to inclement weather. Such delays can significantly undermine public confidence in the electoral process, raising questions about the integrity of the voting system. Additionally, David discusses the economic challenges facing the country, including Honda's decision to move CRV production from Canada to the U.S. to avoid tariffs. This move represents a significant loss of jobs and investment for Canada as Honda shifts its focus to American plants. Doug Ford's earlier assurances that Honda would not shut down Canadian production have proven to be inaccurate, further fueling discontent with the government's handling of economic affairs. On the business front, Canadian Tire's strategic acquisition of Hudson's Bay for $30 million, which includes valuable intellectual property and brand names, is viewed as a smart investment despite Hudson's Bay's historical significance. However, critics question why such a legacy company is being sold off at such a low price, raising concerns about the future of Canadian retail and the implications for local economies. Loblaws has also warned that food prices will rise due to new tariffs, adding to the economic strain felt by Canadian families. With inflation affecting everyday costs, many Canadians find themselves struggling to make ends meet. David references a tweet from 1952 that mentioned Canada's potential for an economic boom, but he highlights that after decades, that boom has yet to materialize, largely due to the current Liberal government's policies. The segment wraps up with several critiques of Mark Carney's leadership, comparing his actions to those of other political figures. His attempts to push through policies like tax cuts without sufficient legal backing have raised eyebrows among critics. The overall sentiment reflects frustration with the government's lack of transparency, accountability, and failure to adequately address Canada's pressing economic issues. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the integrity of the electoral process remains a critical concern for Canadians. The discovery of uncounted ballots in Nunavut and Quebec raises alarms about the reliability of future elections and the need for reform. With growing skepticism about the government's actions, the upcoming elections will serve as a crucial test for Carney's leadership and the Liberal Party's ability to regain public trust amidst increasing scrutiny. The call for greater transparency and accountability in government has never been more urgent, as Canadians seek assurance that their voices will be heard and respected in the democratic process.